Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a long time. You can see I've got a new haircut and a lot of things have changed. However, what hasn't changed is that I'm still a car magician. And the other day, a package arrived for me, and this is this really cool playing card display unit by TCC. You can still get these on Penguin Magic. And although I ordered it in August, it's finally arrived today. So I thought, you know what? I'll rearrange my deck collection because at the moment it's a little bit of a mess. And so I thought I'll bring you with me and I'll show you all the decks that I've managed to accrue over the years as a card magician. So without further ado, let's get into the video. It's going to be a long one, but I hope you enjoy it. Now before I even start, I just want to address the elephant in the room. You're probably wondering, Caleb, why the heck do you have so many decks of cards? And I think I haven't counted them, but I'm assuming it's going to be around 200, and if you include all of the sealed ones, then maybe 200 or 300. So it's a lot of decks of cards, and it's actually a good question. For the first few years of my magic passion, I guess you could call it, I just spent a lot of money on decks of cards, and I really enjoyed getting new decks and using them in my magic tricks. I don't do that so much anymore, but as a result I've got a lot of packs of cards, and some of which I don't really use that much anymore. So it'll be interesting to go through. It's a bit of a time capsule of what I used to enjoy. I still obviously like these decks, but without further ado, let's get into it. There's these decks over here are the ones that I use the most, and these are kind of the classic decks. At the start I liked some really funky designs. You can see these are really awesome packs of cards. Like the Stan and Dave deck, and then over time my taste eventually quietened down, and now I just like bicycle rider backs and tally hos. So we'll start off with the normal rider backs. These are the red and blue rider backs. These are some of the first ones I got. These are, I don't even know, they're just the generic ones with the actual back design on the back. And I have like a couple of bricks of these just still sitting there sealed. Unfortunately these are like slightly more expensive than the standard ones, so the ones that I use these days for workers are these decks here, which are just cheaper but the exact same. And I also have my favourite decks of cards in my whole collection, almost probably, the tally-ho decks, tally-ho circle backs. They're just perfect. I don't think you can get a better design than this. They handle super well. They're really affordable, great for cardistry, great for magic. So yeah, if you can get one deck in this collection, get these. And then moving on, these are kind of like, these are the Bicycle Gold standard decks. So these were actually put into production with help from Richard Turner, who is a blind card cheat, one of the best in the world. And I have about a brick of these each. These are just some of opened ones that I have been using. And these are really good, so another one I use all the time. Going down to some more classics. By the way, I just have red and blue of basically all the decks. I like both red and blue. I think red's my favourite colour out of the two, but I use both of them pretty much equally. Next up is the Tally-Ho fan back. Same kind of design, same kind of handling, but a really different back design, interesting back design. So these are really cool as well. Next up we have Copeg 310 Slimlines. The Slimline ones are really great because these cards are basically really thin. They have a different feel to these other cards because they're printed in Belgium and Cartamundi. And these are now out of stock, unfortunately. These handle really nicely. And another staple of my deck collection, or of my daily use, are the B decks. These are just standard borderless decks. You've probably seen these before. I use them a lot because I do a lot of gambling demonstrations, card cheating moves and things like that. Another great deck which you can't get anymore, I had to get these on eBay I think, are the red and blue aristocrats. You can still get the orange deck and I think maybe a black or a green one, but not a big fan of those colours, so I got a red and a blue one. I've got a couple sitting sealed, which I'll show at the end of the video. I'll show you all my sealed decks. And a new, reasonably recent pickup for me are these B Lotus decks. Now these might look identical to regular B playing cards, and they do on the box, but you can see the back design is a little bit different. You've got these two Lotus things, and to be honest, I prefer B decks, but these are way cheaper. I picked up a brick of the red ones and a few of the blue ones. And I actually also, though I use these for card cheating, I also use them a lot in card manipulation kind of stuff because borderless decks are good for that. So there's those. And up next we have the Aviators. This is an underrated deck in my opinion. If you haven't used these, they might feel a little bit strange at the start, and that's because unlike most decks, they have a completely smooth finish, which means that there's no little air cushion dimples. I don't know if it's going to pick up on camera. And so these handle really differently, and I actually really like it. So there you go, Aviators. They're also super cheap and really good bang for your buck. And that's the good thing about these kind of classic decks, is that they're often very cheap because they're basic, and they handle well, so it's really all you need. And up here I have a couple of bicycle chainless decks. These I don't really use so much anymore. That's the back design there. They're really good. This one is quite a stiff deck, and then this one is thin crushed. So this one handles really well. I don't use these that often, but they're really nice kind of classic deck of cards. And also worth noting is these little Vanishing Ink deck stands. I got these like as a free thing when I need cash in store points on their store. They're not that great, to be honest. They're just 3D printed, so one of them's already kind of broken, but they're interesting things to display decks in. However, not quite as good as this bad boy, which I'm looking forward to using. Now, I do have this kind of jumbled pile of decks here. These are like ones that I really don't use at all, basically, or hardly ever. And then I have this big wall, this big deck display here, which I actually made with my dad. It's just a wooden thing, because the real deck displays cost a lot of money. So I've made my own, so I'll start going through that. But before I do, there's kind of this little section over here. Over here I keep, you can't quite see it, I'll pull them around, there we go. I keep these gaff decks or gimmick decks, and then some Cincinnati decks as well, which I'll explain in a little bit. But before we get onto these, we have some novelty decks. These are kind of decks that I use occasionally or are worn in already, so I just keep them there. And then this is actually a new deck I got for Christmas. This is not like a new deck or anything, but my grandma gave it to me. And it's a tiny wee deck of cards. I live in New Zealand, so this is the Air New Zealand, the airline deck of cards from ages ago. This is the 50th anniversary, so these are ancient. You can't even get these anymore. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know if I ever use them, but very tiny pack of cards. Shout out to my grandma. And then we also have, I also have a couple of decks from, these are printed in Taiwan. These are the Empire Keeper playing cards. These are really cool actually, and these were graciously given to me by my friend Dacian the Illusionist, who is a fantastic magician, and he uses these all the time, so he gave me some of these before he left. And then I have some old tally-ho circle backs that are really broken in, which are nice to use. Same with these, this is some old gold standards that I occasionally use if I'm looking for a more beat up deck to do shuffle work with. And it's the same for, this is a B Lotus deck. I think this is the one that I use for, yeah, this is the one I use for card manipulation. So these cards are quite bent and worn in, which is good. And then this is just a really old B deck. And you might have noticed that when I was showing the B decks before, some of them are printed in Erlanger. I don't even know if that's how you say it. In Kentucky, right? The new factory. And a lot of them say that they're printed in Ohio. And I don't actually know if they are printed in Ohio because they don't feel like Ohio decks. But at least the box says that, so I'll go with it. But this is quite an old deck. Good for practicing card cheating moves. And then some more kind of broken in Copag 310s and a broken in red deck of these. Some of those are missing cards, so I don't use them that often, but they're good for practice. It's always good to keep a range of decks in different conditions, because if you are performing for someone and they hand you a really beat up deck, you want to be able to do your magic with that. You don't want it to be deck dependent. So moving on, we've got some gimmick decks, and then I'll go over the ones that are from Ohio, which are some of my favourites. And up here I've got a whole bunch of decks, gimmick decks that I often use. This is a one-way force deck. It's got 2H on the bottom, so this is the Two of Hearts, which just means that every single card is the Two of Hearts, except for a few, which I use for a certain trick, which I enjoy. This is another one-way force deck, but it's Ace of Clubs, as you can see by the side. This is the Five of Hearts. I have quite a few one-way force decks because I do quite a few tricks with them actually. These are a really underused tool for magic. And then this is a gaff deck. They basically have a whole lot of cards that are really unusual. You can use them for magic tricks, and it's a really interesting deck. There's a whole lot of, some of these are really crazy. Like, I'll actually go through a few. Like you can see, there's some weird ones. There's just some double faces, some useful ones. One with a QR code. Like, there's some pretty interesting cards here, and I like these because you can be really creative with the routines that you come up with these. So that's one. I've got another gaff deck. This has kind of got more funky gaffs in it, which is it. I think it's this one of these. Yeah, this is a much more kind of useful gaff deck. This has got things like blank cards, double backers, double faces, things like that. Things that you'll use regularly, as opposed to those ones which are more crazy. And what else have we got next? Random double backer, nice. This is another one-way force deck, but with 10 of diamonds. I always kind of mark them in some way. to show what deck it is. And what else? This is Coherence. This is a trick by Antonio Bourgeois, I think that's how you say his name, and Franco Pasquale. They released it in their book Vital. I highly recommend you get that book, it's an ebook. This is a deck of cards that I made for one of their tricks called Coherence, which is really fun. This is probably the gaff deck that I use the most, or gimmick deck I use the most. This is the Phantom deck by Joshua J. And this, I don't mind exposing this too much because you can see it pretty easily online. This is just a deck of cards where the whole thing is just clear plastic. And there's a really great trick you can do where the deck that you've been using the whole time turns clear. So that's a really good trick. I use that often, especially when I was working at the restaurant. And moving on, this is a funky deck of cards. In New Zealand we have this kind of convenience store called Night and Day. I recently worked at one of them, and they sell this deck of cards, which is really garbage, but I was bored, so I got one, and I kind of regret it a little bit. And then we have some more gimmick decks. These are kind of, although those ones are kind of gaff decks, these are more gimmicked. So there's something especially altered about these deck of cards that makes them work. I'll start from the far left. What have we got? Oh man, I don't even know what this is. I think this is my invisible deck. No. Oh, okay, this is a deck I made. This is for a trick, the Gemini Twins. This is a different deck you can use for the Gemini Twins. And it's basically got a card taken from a whole bunch of different decks. You see some sneak peeks of decks we're about to go through. And it's got a whole bunch of different decks, and they're all jokers. So it's really cool actually. It's kind of an interesting object. There's a few kings in there which you use for the trick. I like this kind of, it's just a funky deck, so I like using it for the Gemini Twins trick. Next up we've got an invisible deck. This is a classic. If you're going to get one gimmick deck of cards, get an invisible deck. I don't want to expose it. It's probably been exposed too many times on the internet. Next up we have the invisible deck's ugly cousin, the Brainwave deck. I never used this. I think I might have used it once and realised how bad it is, and then I didn't use it. This is a blank deck. Very simple. The whole deck is blank. There you go. These are great. And then this is a deck of double face cards. The cards have different things on either side, so a lot of great tricks you can use with these. And this is the Primer deck by Daniel Madison. I don't think he actually originated this idea, although he says he does. Let's see, Svengali deck. Oh, and before I go on further, I should note that I really rarely use gimmick decks. I really like being able to just use an impromptu deck of cards, something that's lying around, or if I'm going to perform somewhere I don't want to have to take 6 different decks of cards. So occasionally I'll take a 1x4 deck for something or whatever, but I usually just use an impromptu deck. So a lot of these things are kind of just to play around with for me, not actually to perform with. This is a Svengali deck, and you can see one side is way more faded than the rest. And this is also a very common magic prop that I'm sure everyone knows about. And then this is a stripper deck. Even non-magicians will know what this is. This is, it says HEA deck on the side. And this is a deck for a trick that I invented. The first trick I ever came up with was with this deck. The HEA stands for Happily Ever After, which is the name of this trick. Next up we have, this is the Zenith deck. It says Zenith. This is something I made up actually. This is a trick I created after I watched Usy Win's Full Ice routine, and in my eyes his Full Ice routine is one of the best I've ever seen. I was racking my brain for a long time trying to figure out how he did it, and so I thought, you know what, I'll just come up with my own way to do it. And I'm pretty sure his version doesn't use a gimmick deck, but mine did, and this is the deck. Effectively the plot is the spectator names any card they want, and although the deck's been in plain sight the whole time, when the magician opens it up there's only one face-up card in the whole pack, and it's their card. And he turns it over and it's also the only blue card in a red deck, and then finally the last kicker is that the whole rest of the deck is blank. So that's my trick with that Zenith deck. Obviously uses a gimmick. And this is the XY deck, another Usy Wind thing. This is a gimmick deck that he created using corner shorts. So this is really interesting. I haven't used this that much, but very cool. Alright, well that is the gimmick deck box done, which is nice. I'll put that down there. And now we're on to my prized possession out of my whole collection, which are my Ohio decks of cards. Some of these in here aren't actually from Cincinnati. These are not. These are the Tally-Ho Circleback Elite Editions by Penguin Magic. These are basically thin crushed Tally-Ho Circlebacks. And then I have some Bicycle Blue Seal playing cards. These are you can tell they're printed in Ohio because of the blue steel, but also there's a few other ways you can tell. And these, I haven't used them that much. I kind of, out of all the decks I have here, these are the kind of ones I'm like, I kind of want to keep them in good nick. And here is the prized possession in all my collection, my favourite deck of cards that I've got. And it is a Tally-Ho Circleback printed in Ohio. Very, very hard to get these actually. And the story behind a lot of these Ohio decks is I got this big bundle, this big brick of cards from this random guy on eBay who was selling some like opened decks from Cincinnati. I was like, you know what, that sounds like a great deal. And it had blue seal Tally-Hos in it. It doesn't actually have the seal on it, but you can tell that these are from Ohio. The way they handle is better than any other deck that I've ever handled, and that's a fact. So these are the best, and I only use these on special occasions. That sounds strange, doesn't it? And then we also have the cousin of the Tally-Ho Circlebacks is the Fanbacks, also printed in Ohio. Arco playing cards, blue seal Arcos. These are also crazy difficult to get your hands on. You can buy these for like 100 or 200 US, I think. They handle really nicely. They also have a really cool back design, which I really like. I got given this by a friend because I could definitely would never pay 100 US for a deck or 200 US for a deck. So there you go, Arcos. And here is also a really fun deck from that big bundle. This is the Squeezers deck. So it's just got a really funky back design. Another one printed in Ohio. And this is a genuine Ohio printed B deck. Unlike my other ones, which I think the box is just from Ohio, but the cards aren't. This, however, is definitely from Ohio, and I think that this might be like a late 1900s deck, just because of the box design. So this is really interesting, handles really well as well. And then we have the Steamboat deck. Now this is also another really rare deck of cards. I think that these will put you back like 100 or 200 US as well on eBay. You can't get these brand new anymore, that's for sure. And this is actually a smooth finish Steamboat deck, so it's really interesting borderless deck. And Dan and Dave did a reprint of this, which was also really nice, but this is the OG deck, so another one from that bundle. And the bundle was like a super cheap price, it was like 40 US or something, so it's a crazy steal. And then these are Cincinnati, Ohio Aviator decks, as an Aviator deck, sorry. These handle really nicely, so there you go. Well, now we're on to the main part of my collection, but I'm not gonna slow down because I don't want to take too much of your time, but some of these you might not be able to see, but up here, this basically, by the way, is my favourite kind of custom decks, is what you'd call them. So, first up, we have the Knock Pro Edition series. These are released, I think, last year, by Alex Pandrea, and this is his new takeoff of the original Knock decks. These are fully marked, actually, which is pretty amazing. These are really nice, I really like them. And then, talking of Knocks, I do have quite a few decks from Alex Pandrea. This is the full original Knock collection with all the colours, and out of these decks I have to say Red Knocks are the best. These are this is one of my favourite decks just because it's so simple. And if you don't know, the Knock design is just basically a flat colour. So this is all of the original ones, which unfortunately you can't get anymore. I wish they'd keep printing these because I'd like to get some more red ones, but there you go. A few more Knocks as well. These are the Summer Knocks. These are really nice. Blue and orange. These are like Knocks but thin crushed and more summery colours. Then we have some decks from Theory 11. I haven't got so many recently, I just haven't bought really any decks of cards in the last year. Only a few really. And there are some cool ones that I would get from Theory 11 if I wasn't saving to move to Europe in a few months. So I think priorities overtake that. But these are the Monarchs. This is their classic deck. Really cool back design. These are really kind of classy. I have 4 of the colorways, and the 2 Star Wars decks I have, I really like Star Wars, so I got these decks. Another Star Wars one, this is the Mandalorian deck. This is really cool, it's got a great back design. And on the faces, same with the Star Wars ones, are all different characters from the TV show. So it's a very cool deck. And one thing to know about Theory 11 is that as you can see, their tuck boxes are just exquisite, amazing. And I think probably my favourite of all their tuck boxes, maybe second favourite, is this Avengers deck. This is really nice. Purple. It's got Avengers on the face cards. This is really cool as well. And some more. Oh, this is a red Avengers deck. These are kind of more like works of art, really, than things of magic. But this is a James Bond deck. This is really nice. Really gold coated. And then this is probably my favourite Theory 11 deck, which is the Darren Brown playing cards. They've got this design that's like a book. So there's like the cover of the book. These are the pages. It looks really cool, and the deck is nice and classic, which I like. And a few more Theory 11 decks. I've got the Union deck, which they produced a while ago. I don't have much to say about it, to be honest. And this is the Tycoon deck, this is the Ivory edition, and this is a really nice gold classic deck. I don't know what to say about these decks, to be honest. They're all cool, so you can just take that blanket statement. These are some decks from David Blaine actually. I've only got a couple of decks from David Blaine. These are really expensive on the aftermarket. I bought these from some seller in New Zealand who I don't think knew what he had and sold these really cheaply. So this is a Black Lions Blue Edition deck from David Blaine, and a really cool deck from David Blaine, which I definitely shouldn't have bought because it was expensive, but these are the red gator backs, and they're the kind of foil crimson version. I don't know if this pick this up on camera, but basically all the decks are covered in this shiny metallic foil. I have to say my favourite Ace of Spades out of any deck is probably the one in here. I mean, just look at that. That is nice, isn't it? Look at that. Beautiful. Moving on, we've got some more. These decks here are some of my use for table work. So these are the Republic number 3s from Jeremy Griffith. I also have, this is a really nice deck. This is Warrior playing cards, I think. Yeah, I just love this back design with the white borderless deck. It's just so clean. And then Mint V2 playing cards from 52 cards. This used to be my favourite deck of cards. This is the Madison Rounders, the black edition. I really wish I'd been able to get some other colourways, especially the white one. If anyone has a white Madison Rounders deck and wants to give it to me, I would be your friend for life. So please. But this is the black deck. This is really cool. And then these are the Madison Remedies decks that I've got. I think he's got a pink one and a brown one and maybe a black one now. I lose track. That is the whole top row done. And fun fact, I purposely designed this shelf so that it fits 34 decks across, and times 3 is 102. And also, moving on, this is one of my favourite parts of my collection, probably one of the most expensive parts of my collection if I were to sell them. These are my Orbit decks, and I have quite a few. Let me just grab them out. These are really cool, classic cardistry decks. You have 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, V8 Parallel, Christmas 2021 edition, Cardistry Con 2nd edition, and the Mac Lethal edition, which both came out this year, I think. And then also the Tally Ho times Orbit decks, which are also really nice. These decks are really, really, really expensive to buy new these days. Well, not all of them. The 7th edition came out right as I was getting into Magic, and this is, as you can tell, is the most beat up one because this is the first one I got. Handles really well. This is the kind of the back design, you can see it on the back. And all of the Orbit decks have this distinctive circle in the middle. The 5th edition and the 6th edition I bought from some random store in New Zealand, and they were selling them at like a crazy low price. And I also have some other decks from them. These are the other ones, the V8s, which are really nice. V8 Parallels, you can see the back designs. This is the Christmas edition. Cardistry Con 2nd edition, I actually really like this, quite a cool deck. And then the Mac Lethal Orbit deck, which is a pretty dark deck if you ask me. Out of the Orbit decks, I love these the most because I love Tally Ho's, and this just perfectly blends the two designs together. My only gripe about these is that they're thin crushed, and unlike most editions, I really am not a huge fan of thin crushed. I prefer it as standard stock. But can't really complain because it's just such a good collaboration. And it's worth noting that if you're still watching, then good on you. You must be just as obsessed with decks of cards as I am. So like the video if you're still watching. Man, I never say stuff like that, but if you want to, go ahead. If you're still watching, you're actually in for a treat because we're getting into the best stuff, I think. This is the Dan and Dave deck I showed earlier. This is this was sent to me for free by Card Mafia, who collaborated with them on this deck. I won a giveaway for some random thing, so that was cool. Here are some other expensive decks. These are some of my favourite cardistry decks, but these have only 1,000 of them ever produced. This design, in my eyes, is just the best for cardistry. It just looks amazing, handles really well, and yeah, these are really cool. I've used this blue deck a lot. This is probably my favourite cardistry deck, or one of. Although I'm definitely not a cardist, so I don't know why I have so many decks, which I can only really use for cardistry. And then this deck is really cool because it's got orange and blue on it. Nice. Worth the price if you ask me. If we're talking about expensive, the most I've ever spent on a deck of cards is this deck right here. This is the Virtuoso Spring Summer 2016 deck. I think that's the full name. This deck, for ages, if you could ask me to get one deck in the whole world, I'd get this deck. And this is the back design. Probably doesn't look like much, but it's very simple, very elegant. I managed to get these from a guy on Instagram, a cardist, who sold them to me at a really good rate. So, speaking of Virts, I have a few of their decks. These are the kind of the more recent ones. Because I've only been doing Magic for like 4 years, I don't have many really old decks which are cool, except for this one. And moving on, I've got a few first decks of cards. These were very generously sent to me from my friend Mika Harris. You should go follow him, subscribe to him, he's awesome. He was sponsored by First.shop, which is Chris Ramsey's card company. And when he got sponsored, I asked him if I could buy one of these off him. And he was just like, nah, I'll send it to you for free. And then he also sent me these 2 decks, which is an absolutely genuine move. So, thank you, Mika. These are the first V4s, the white and the black edition, and then this is the V5s, which got this really cool holographic design. And also I have the Jerry's Nuggets decks. These are really cool. They're obviously not the originals. Fun fact about these, the original decks of cards from Jerry's Nugget Casino can go for up to $500 US or more. Isn't that crazy? $500 US for a deck of cards is nuts. These, however, are the reprints. Thin crushed. They handle really well and they look really cool. I'm going to speed through a few of these decks because I realised that this video is probably like 40 minutes long already. So, this is the Feather deck by Joshua J in Vanishing Ink. This is really cool. I need to stop saying really cool. They're all really cool. Printed in Cardamundi. So there you go. Oh, we've had some cards fall over. I'm just stacking them on my desk and it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. There's mountains of cards. These decks are worth sticking around for. These are the Guy Hollingworth decks from Vanishing Ink, and these are awesome. I mean, just look at that. Lovely deck, printed in Cardamundi. These are fantastic decks of cards. I also have, this is an Art of Magic deck. This is by, this is from Danny Dave's old company Art of Magic, which is now owned by Vanishing Ink. Quite a rare deck. I don't think you can really get these new apart from with the store credit at Vanishing Ink. And this is actually one of my favourite decks from my collection. This is another one I think also throughout this video I've been saying I bought this year, and my mind hasn't still hasn't clicked that it's 2024, so just forgive me and go back to 2023. This I bought in 2022. It was my first and only Kickstarter project I've ever backed. This is the Apollo playing cards by Jason Ladany and Daniel Nicholas. The back design is really nice, classic, I love it. But these are the only deck in my whole collection that handles like Tally-Ho circlebacks, other than Tally-Ho circlebacks. Speaking of legends in the playing card community, False Anchors. I've got a few False Anchors decks. I've got one more sealed. When I saw this deck here, this is the Deep Sea deck by False Anchors, and this is the back design here. And although the back design is very cool, it's really the face cards that I love the most. I mean, this is basically a work of art on every single card. You can see if we go through, you know, it's just like, these are apparently hand painted and then scanned onto the deck. But I saw this and I was like, you know what, I've got to get this deck because it's beautiful. But I ordered it directly from Ryan Schlutz, who's the False Anchors guy. And when I ordered it, he was like, sweet. And then a few weeks later I was like, hey, is there a tracking number for it? And he was like, oh, sorry, I haven't even sent it yet. That's my bad. And I was like, oh good, I'm not in a rush to get it. But as a result, he just threw in 4 extra decks for me. These are 3 and I've got another one sealed, which is super rare, which I'll show you at the end. But this is the False Anchors V3, I think, and V4. Also a gilded deck. Oh, gilded. That's the same as the other deck. It's hard to see that, but there you go. That's gilded. Gilded deck. Only gilded deck I've ever got. I never buy these, so this just stays in the box basically, and I play with it every so often. Which sounds quite weird, but there you go. I got a few of those for free, so that was very nice of them. Another cool deck is the DMC Elites V5. I'll start going quite quickly. This is a fully marked deck of cards from Drummond Money Coots. I also have some organic playing cards decks. I've only got 2. This is a company that produces decks that are fruit themed, and this one's quite a cool deck. It's like it's a juice carton, you know, which is pretty nifty. Next up, we have 2 decks from Emily Slights 52, I think is her Instagram handle. So yeah, there's the Night Edition and the Day Edition, both are really nice decks. Here are a few decks from Riffle Shuffle, which is another playing card company. This one's really cool. Surfboard V2s. This is the back design here, and this is the Sirius B V3s, I think. And this is the Play Dead V2s, and that's what they look like. Moving on swiftly through, we have a couple of decks from Penguin Magic. These are the Honeybee decks. These are really cool, and they handle really well. I quite like them. This is quite a rare deck, which I managed to get somehow. This is a deck by Alex Vandrea, Sky Island. It's got quite a cool vintage vibe to it. We've got the Former playing cards, purple Former playing cards from TCC. This is the Bicycle Hypnosis pack deck. This is the back design. It's pretty nifty. This is the Jungle Art of Play deck. That's the deck. These are the Art of Play Wheels deck by DKNG, I think is how you say it. I've got the red one, which is probably my favourite, and then the blue, yellow, and the green one, which has this cool brown recycled paper tuck case. Oh, here are 2 cool decks. These are ones I got sent for free this year by Kevin Booth. So shout out to Kevin Booth for sending me these. These are the two prototypes for his Kickstarter campaign. Which was successfully funded, so congratulations to him. Okay, we're coming to near the end of the big shelf. We've got Rise playing cards from the YouTube channel Rise Magic, this is a really cool deck. These are some more Theory 11 decks. God, I had these down here. Voyager playing cards, Animal Kingdom playing cards, which is one of my first decks, and the MPH Neil Patrick Harris deck by them as well. Theory 11 does a really good job of high quality cards for not that much money. So there we go. This is the Bicycle Insignia back deck. This, although it's got a black card on the inside, these are white borderless, and I just got a thing for borderless white decks, so these are, I quite like these. And then I also have the Card College playing cards. This is the decks that go with the absolutely legendary book set, which I can grab from my bookshelf. Card College, it's a 5-volume set, and these are the cards that are shown in the illustrations and printed by Roberto Giobbi and TCC. Oh, and that's the back design, by the way. There we go. Moving on, we've got Cherry Casino cards. This is a classic deck in Magic Circles. That's kind of what the back design looks like. It's quite interesting. I've only got 4 colorways. They've got like 8 maybe colorways, or 10 maybe. I don't know. These are just some of the ones that I like though. And the last 4, we have the Memento Mori decks. This is the OG deck from Chris Ramsey. Everyone who collects playing cards will know this deck. Then Murphy's Magic kind of ripped it off and made this one, the blue one. They also continue to make them in the set, and so this is like a purple one. And then this is the Genesis deck, which is the latest one. I think this was a couple of years ago it released. And that's the back design. So, and to be honest, I kind of didn't need to get all of them, but I was like, I'm going to complete the collection, and now I wish I'd saved that money. Okay, now we've kind of moved off all the really cool decks. These are kind of the ones that I use often or don't use at all. So some of these I got given. Some of these are really average, some of these are really cool, hidden gems. These are the Killer Bee decks, sorry, from Illusionist. There's a black one and a white one. We've got some, I've got another one from Riffle Shuffle, this is Dusty As. This is the Adventure playing cards. I have the King Slayers. This is like almost like a Fontaine ripoff, but it's not really. It's by Peter McKinnon and Illusionist. That's the back design, really thin deck. These are the Keeper playing cards. There's a red deck and a green deck. I also have a blue deck somewhere. Here we go. Blue deck. These are a deck by Adam Wilbur and Illusionist. This one is printed in USPCC. This one's printed by Cardamundi, and the stock is a little bit too thick on these, but this one's marked. So do with that information what you will. Man, I can tell you the retention's just dropping at this point. I can tell. Everyone's clicking off the video, but I'm gonna power through. These are the Talons playing cards by Illusionist. That's the back design. And this is another one of the kind of the first decks I got. This is a Rockets deck, and I remember getting this, and this is right at the start of my Magic days, and it had a duplicate card in it and a double backer, and I was like, what? They give you a duplicate? You don't have to get 2 decks? And I was crazily excited by this. It's quite an interesting back design. It's like a popsicle or something, and I have a lot of nostalgia attached to this deck, so I love it. And then this is the X deck by Alex Pandrea. Nothing to write home about, it's just, I don't know if that's the design. There you go. Oh, what's this one? This is the Maverick deck. This was in that Cincinnati, Ohio bundle, and the reason it's not with the others is because it sucks. This is by far the worst handling deck in my collection, and that's including the budget Night and Day playing cards. These are smooth finish, but the corners are not even, like, they're kind of cut, and oh, they're so stiff and ugly and horrible, and I hate these. So, so there you go. I never used these in my life. The Flexible playing cards by TCC. I've used this deck so much. This is like my daily. This was my daily deck for a while, and I think I've got a few more. Yeah, here are the other Flexible ones. These are the Flexible Gradients, and what's cool about these decks is all of the cards are different colours, so they're all gradients of blue. And when they are in new deck order, there's a perfect gradient from light blue to dark blue, and so when you riffle through, it looks really cool. Also, I think it's worth noting, as I get to the end of this kind of section, when I used to watch a lot of these deck collection videos when I was younger, and I used to always think, man, isn't it crazy they have so many decks of cards but they never use them all? If I had that many decks of cards, I would definitely use them, and maybe you're thinking that right now. But also, it's worth noting that when you just accumulate this many decks of cards, it's just impossible to use them. I've got like 200, and so if I used one a day for every day, it would take almost a year to use them all. So yeah, I don't recommend getting this many decks of cards actually. And this is a brief aside to say, if you are card collecting, fair enough, it's a good hobby, but if you're a magician, then you probably only need like maybe 20 really cool decks of cards that you like, and then get a whole bunch of bikes. This is kind of just excess, and then it spirals out of control. So I don't necessarily regret getting all of these, but I do think that the money could have been better spent, because a lot of these are just sitting on my shelf. So although I really like it, and it's cool, and one day I'll probably have some cool display of all of them, I just thought that's worth noting. Advice to my younger self. But yeah, we'll carry on. This is the Casual V2 deck of cards. This is also a deck I've used a lot. Really simple design, really cool, good for cardistry, I guess. And then this is a deck from Gemini, which I don't have many cards from them, but this is the Cheetah deck. And this is just a really bold, vivid deck, kind of themed after cheetahs. This is one of the first decks of cards. Well, there's a story behind this. When I get to my very first ever USPCC deck of cards, I'll explain it, but this is kind of a new version, but this is one of my early decks of cards. And then we've got, these are some I got in the mystery deck thing. I think it was like an imperfect deck sale from some magic shop. The Universe playing cards, Spaceman the Universe deck. They've just got a really crazy kind of sci-fi design. The cool thing about this though, is that apparently if you heat up this box, and I can't be bothered doing it now, but if you heat up the box, the box actually changes colour. So that's pretty cool. And then these, some decks by an old cardist called Devo, if you want to say his full name, be my guest, Devo von whatever. Not really my thing to be honest, but it's interesting. Old school, that's the best word for it. And then this is a deck of cards I got given by my friend for my birthday, and this is a really interesting deck. Another brick box done. I'm just going to throw that on the ground. This is another deck from Gemini. This is the Game Over deck. It's quite a cool idea. It looks kind of like a Game Boy on the outside. This is the Zone deck of cards. That's how they open, the cards come out, and that's the back design. Pretty nifty. This is the Cobra deck by JP Games. I also have the red version. This is the thicker stock, whereas the other one's thin. Here we go, Bicycle Inspire deck by Alex Pandrea. This is fully marked actually, it's got a really interesting marking system. Blue Knights playing cards by Chris Ramsey and Illusionist. This is chess themed, the back design looks like that. And another fully marked deck, very cool. And then there's some coloured bicycle decks. I've got an orange one, a yellow one, and a green one. Here's a deck I got in a mystery deck thing which I've never used. I'll probably use for card games someday. We also have some bicycle neon decks. This is a cardistry deck, which means that there's no faces on this. Now if you're not a magician you probably think that's the dumbest thing ever, but it's just got this on every single card. And that means that when you fan it and do different things it looks cool. I'm not going to do any proper cardistry now, but and there's also a purple one. You can really only use these for cardistry. Moving on, we've got, this is another deck I was given by a friend. This is the Superior brand, printed by Expert Playing Card Company. This is the Rainbow deck I think. It's got this like shimmery back design. And here are the Winter Knock deck. This is the Winter Knock deck. This is like the Summer Knocks from earlier with orange and blue, but this is winter. So it's got this really pale colour. And you can tell I'm getting tired by this point. Okay, two more decks to go out of the custom ones. The Knock, what are these called? 3000 X2s, I think. These are by Alex Pandrea, they're kind of futuristic deck design. And then last but not least, the Fluid 2019 deck, which I got for free from Card Cuts, which is an Australian company. So that is basically all the custom decks I've got. There's still sealed ones remaining, but you can see it's just a crazy number of cards. It's ridiculous. So let's move on to even more cards. And here is the last part of my collection. These are the sealed decks and the retired decks that I've got. These are up here, you can see is a whole bunch of sealed, most of these are sealed, bicycle rider backs. When I'm performing, this is the deck I use just because it's cheap. So I've got probably about 9 bricks of those. I had this all the way filled up at some point, so I think I've gone through like another 4 bricks on top of this. And then down here I've got some more sealed decks. These are some sealed Aristocrat playing cards. I've got a sealed red B deck, and then 3 of the Cincinnati blue B decks there as well. The decks I don't perform with, I don't really go through too quickly, so thankfully it's pretty slow. I also have some sealed B Lotus casino decks. This is the blue one. Back here, I don't know if you can see very well because it's probably a lot of glare. Dropped one. This is just from the top of the pile, but there's a brick of the red back Lotus playing cards. Also a brick of, almost a brick of these, the red, standard red bicycle decks with the back design on the back. Yo! It's Caleb from the future here. I'm editing this video right now, and I realised that for the next few minutes I just ramble on for ages about the decks you can already see on the screen. Just to cut it short, basically I've got some tally-ho circle backs, I've got a couple of bricks of gold bicycle playing cards, a few blank decks in there, and then a rare deck from False Anchors. So those are the decks you can already see. I don't want to waste all your time going over those decks. I know people will probably have clicked off by this video, and probably now there's only like one person watching, if that, so good on you. I salute you. But at the bottom you can also see there's a whole bunch of retired decks. These are decks that I have finished with after performing, and there's probably about 8 bricks I think there of just decks that that are basically done. So you can see those there, and I do just want to show you one more. There's just one more deck I want to show you, and that's the first ever bicycle deck and regular deck of playing cards I ever used as a magician. And they're a bit sentimental, so I thought I'd show those. So thank you. This is the very first USPC deck, which is the Bicycle Steampunk deck. It's got some tape on it as well, and you can tell by the edges that this thing is really well used. I had this in my pocket basically 24/7. It still handles really well. It's USPCC, so they kind of tend to hold up over time, but it still handles really well. This is the back design, it's steampunk, and I have so many memories of using this deck. all my first Instagram videos were with this deck of cards. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So here we are. I've spent the last hour or so rearranging these decks into what I think could be a good configuration. I've got some decks here, up here. I've managed to fit all of them in, thankfully. And I've also got a whole bunch in this other holder here. This is all my most often used decks, which I'll keep at my desk. If you did make it to the end of the video, you're an absolute legend. Leave a comment down below saying what your favourite deck of cards was out of all the ones you saw today. But I hope you have a really great rest of your day.